Hello, Contractors of Colorado. It's your host, Andrew Lavrins, here with another wonderful episode of the Contractors of Colorado podcast. We have an awesome guest today, Miss Emily Ferrell. She is with New.Parent.Law. Before we jump into our interview, as always, quick shout out to our sponsors. They're a huge piece of everything we do. Thank you to the Builders Outlet, all your material supply, doors, cabinets, windows, trim. They love working with contractors. Reach out to them. They're absolutely huge supporters of our community. So mention you're with us, mention that we sent you, and they're going to take care of you, I promise. Also, shout out to the business Foundry. We host all of our events here. I work out of this space. It's open to all of our members. We absolutely love the partnership we have with you. We're in your podcast room now and can't say thank you enough. So thank you to the business Foundry and Lone Tree. If you need any services for your business or just a place for your team to meet or you to work out of a space, come see us. Awesome. So let's get started. Emily, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for asking. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. I absolutely love these. It's as fun as it is sitting down with all of our contractors. I think a ton of the value of this podcast is when we sit down with our affiliates, because we have an audience of contractors. We got lots of eyeballs on us, and to bring somebody in that can speak to the stuff that's not the trade specific work, not on the job, but on the business, in the business. That's so important to our audience. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Well, it's a pleasure.
Well, we kick this thing off every time by putting business to the side. Who are you? What do you do? What are you do? I know reviewing documents is riveting stuff, but what do you do for fun?
Great question. So my name is Emily. I am an attorney, which does incorporate reviewing documents and a ton more. And I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that. First, though, for fun, I spend a lot of time chasing around my 3-year-old daughter, which most of the time is fun. I also get yelled at now a lot by her. There's a strong no phase right now.
Oh, yeah. I've got a 4-year-old boy that the audience is, everybody knows Everett. Oh, my goodness. He learned how to ride his bike without training wheels this week. So huge parenting moment for us, big kid milestone, but it's also come with a lot of no's and all of that as well. So I'm with you.
Yes.
Stay strong.
Yes. Well, congrats on the biking.
Thank you. Thank you.
So when I'm not chasing a toddler around, I love spending time outside. Really. I love biking too. Also without training wheels most of the time.
Good.
Hiking. I spend a lot of time at playgrounds these days, a lot of time with friends. So
awesome.
Lovely.
Just leaning into the mom life.
Yes. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you did mention, back to business, you did mention you're an attorney. Area of specialty is estate planning, wills, trusts, estates. What is an estate planning attorney?
Great question. So I would describe myself as an estate planning attorney. I'd go one step further and say family wealth attorney as well. So estate planning is generally thought of as wills, trusts, documents that you need in place when you pass away. They're incredibly important to make sure that your estate, everything you've worked so hard for throughout your life, is passed to the people you want it passed to correctly. Really important. One step further as a family wealth attorney is how do we connect your estate plan to other areas of your life now while you're alive? And there's so much you can do to impact your estate plan now, and so much you can take advantage of now to make sure that you're really growing that generational wealth, that you're really protecting your family legally and financially in the way you want them to be protected.
Yeah, that's, I like the phrasing, protecting your family. I always, my anchor to what is an estate planning attorney is we have other attorneys that help us protect our business. And when it comes to contracts and jobs that might have gone sideways and overdue payments and mechanics liens, all of that, Miriam does a phenomenal job in that lane. But we all know as entrepreneurs that all of a sudden our business and our personal life start getting intertwined. And I've always thought of an estate planning attorney as somebody who is there to protect your business from your family, or protect your family from your business, just in case something does go wrong or anything down that road. So can you elaborate? Obviously we're in the Contractors of Colorado. We're speaking to the audience of contractors. What does this mean in the life of a contractor to be protecting your family from your business?
That's a great question. And I'm glad you brought up Miriam. She's phenomenal. She and I work closely together, and I send a lot of clients her way. If they have business law questions, she sends a lot of her clients my way as well. And it's really important to have different professionals in different areas. So if you need a business law professional, Miriam has your back. If you need estate planning and you want to focus on protecting your family and building that generational wealth, then I have your back. And I like to explain it as hopefully people are working because they're passionate about their jobs. They love their jobs. They love building businesses. But ultimately, why all of us are working and building those businesses and spending so much time investing in growing them is for our families, right? It's to support our our spouse. It's to make sure our kids are protected financially, right? It's possibly even to set our kids up for a better life than we had. So how do you make sure you actually do that? You work with a business law attorney to make sure your business is protected. You have strong contracts in place. You're getting paid on time. If things go south in your business, then Miriam has your back in litigation or whatever it is. But then how do you go one step further and make sure that what you're working so hard to build actually gets passed to your family in the way you want it to get passed?
Right.
In addition, are there things you can put in place now, in life, in addition to your estate plan, to really capitalize on those benefits? And I'm happy to talk more about those as well.
Awesome. What got you into this? Did you wake up one morning and I want to go to law school to protect families from their businesses? Like what got you into this?
That's a great question. It took me a while to go to law school. I didn't actually start law school until my late 20s. So I wanted to see a lot and do a lot in my 20s. And so I started at University of Colorado Law School in my late 20s. I was originally from New York, but moved out here over a decade ago for law school. My husband is originally from Colorado. We've stayed here. We have family here. It's amazing. I don't plan on ever leaving Colorado. So no, I didn't go to law school primarily to be an estate planning attorney, and it kind of just fell into it. And because I started to realize it is so important to put plans in place, to focus on this area of your life, to protect what you're building. So as you're accumulating wealth, as you're building up your business, how do you make sure it is protected? So I personally did not come from a family where we had a lot of discussions about finances. I didn't learn this financial education growing up. I would have had no idea what an estate plan was, even if you asked me in my 20s. But it is so crucial. And when you talk to people who are really building wealth and who are really financially successful, it is so crucial to setting up a proper estate plan and to making sure your families are set up correctly.
Yeah. There's, when we start talking about the different types of strategies, two things come to mind for me is the two types of trusts that I'm familiar with. Was it irrevocable and the revocable? All right, look at me. Yeah. I can remember a few things. Yeah, look at it. It's rubbing off. Explain those to us and maybe which ones work in which scenarios, or just kind of walk us through the structure of what that is.
Absolutely. I love this question. I love this question because I feel like with my clients, I spend a lot of time dispelling myths that people see on social media.
Oh, I was going to say these TikTok videos, the Instagram reels, I mean, they're everywhere and it's a great way to get in front of an audience, but it's dangerous. They package a little snippet of information, and if you run with that, it might have nothing to do with your scenario. So I'm glad you brought that up. Caution, contractors, don't. We all love Facebook and all that, but let's not get sucked in. We have experts here. Let's hear it from you.
Absolutely. And I'm also glad you brought it up and asked me, just to go hand in hand with dispelling myths. In my practice, I really focus on education. So I can come in as an attorney and say, you've told me a little bit about you. And I believe in past conversations, you have 2 kids, right?
Yep.
And you're married?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I can come in as an estate planning attorney and say, tell me a little bit more about your assets, and then I'm going to make a recommendation. I'm always happy to make recommendations, but what I really care about is making sure you understand why we're doing what we're going to do, making sure you want that to happen for your family. And the way that you're going to understand what we're doing and why it makes sense is by this education piece.
Right.
So I really care about incorporating my clients into that process. It's hugely beneficial too, right? Because whatever knowledge and education I can pass on, I want to do that, right? And so you can take that and run with it and maybe pass that on to your kids, and suddenly they're at home starting their financial education and learning about these legal strategies. So
yeah,
I love these questions. So you brought up trust. So there are 2 main types of trust: revocable trust and an irrevocable trust. A trust is a legal arrangement between 3 parties. So it's not an entity, it's not an LLC. You don't file anything with the Secretary of State when we're speaking about, let's say, revocable trust. It is an arrangement between the grantor or the trust maker, so the person who sets up the trust, the trustee, who is the person who holds the assets and manages them in the trust, and then the beneficiary, so the person who is ultimately going to benefit for them. So when you talk about revocable living trust is a really interesting tool that you can use in estate planning to avoid probate. Probate is a huge pain. It is a huge problem. Assets can get frozen during probate.
And that's where the court is responsible for divvying up your assets once you're gone?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So probate is the process of when someone passes away, essentially the court going through and figuring out what was in their estate and sending it to the people that should be receiving it. I say should, right? Because it could either be written in a will. This is who I want to get my car. This is who I want to get my house. Or if you don't have a will, it's called dying intestate. If you don't have a will, there is a Colorado probate code, which determines how your assets are set up and where they go. Have you ever read the Colorado probate code?
No, but I think, is it fair to say that is terrifying? Like I'm trying to think of, and I love our local government, like state government are great, but come on, like we have our strengths, we have our weaknesses. I can't imagine that this would be a strength.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. No, it is terrifying. And I don't know what part, is it like probate in a court administrating, or you're saying reading the Colorado probate code? Both are terrifying.
Right.
I wouldn't recommend reading it if you don't need to. It's not an interesting read. But I have read it. So if you don't have a plan in place, if you don't have a will in place, then there's a statute, the Colorado probate code, which says how your assets are going to be handled after you die. The good news could be, there's kind of a plan in place for me. The bad news is you probably know what the plan is, and you also may not agree with the plan. So probate, on top of that, is at your local county courthouse. So what county do you live in?
Douglas.
Okay, right. So you're going to the Douglas County Courthouse. It is public, meaning anyone can go in and see what's in your estate. They can sit through that probate case. They can see what's in your estate, how your assets were held, even what your kids are set to inherit, which is crazy and terrifying. It is time consuming. In Colorado, it takes on average 9 to 24 months. During that time, your assets can be frozen. They can be locked up. So that is incredibly problematic, especially if you have a spouse or a business that is depending on you in some way,
right,
or your estate. And it can be costly. So likely for probate, you'd have to hire a probate attorney. I'm not a probate attorney. My job is to keep my clients out of probate. I see it as counterintuitive, saying, well, if I fail to do my job, then you can come back and hire me for probate, right? My job is to keep you out of probate. It can be costly. On average, it takes anywhere from 5 to 15% of your total estate in those costs. So that's money that could be going to your spouse. It could be going to your kids. Instead, you're tied up in court in this process.
It sounds like money that also could have went to you to get ahead of all this proactively for way less of a rate, is what I'm guessing.
I appreciate
you're kind of hitting that. Yeah, I know you're not going to plug it yourself, but I'm doing some quick math here.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a really good point too, right? I have people say, well, why would I go to an estate planning attorney? I can just do a will online. My answer to that is, yes, you can. You do you, right? That's your decision. I would not recommend that in any way at any point. I see a few major issues. One, you're only going to know if you did that will correctly when it comes into place. And when it comes into place is when you pass away. So it is too late to make changes. So if you messed up on that will, you don't get a second go. Two, on top of that, there is so much more to an estate plan than just a will or even just a trust, right? How do we make sure that this works in practice? And that's what I really care about, is you are setting this up. How do we make sure if something happens to you, we know your husband or your wife will be okay. We know that your kids will be okay. There are so many more elements to an estate plan.
Before we dive into the differences between the revocable and the irrevocable, I think I want to take a step back, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say I speak for a majority of the audience here, because this is what we do all day long. I talk to contractors all day, every day, and very few times have we discussed the difference between a will and a trust. So if I'm kind of in the dark, I think I know the answer, but I want to put it out there. What's the difference between a will and a trust?
Great question. So a will essentially is it's a legal document. It's a legal roadmap for the court. It's saying, hey, instead of the Colorado probate code, I want my estate to go this way, right? I want my house to go here. I want my car to go here. Provides a roadmap. It does not avoid probate. And that's a common misconception. In some cases, you might just be better just not doing a will and leaving it to what the Colorado probate code says. You're only going to know that if you read the Colorado probate code or if you talk with an attorney.
Right.
Now, trust is that tool that you can set up that will avoid probate. So anything in a revocable living trust will avoid probate. So suddenly, if you put your house in a revocable living trust and you pass away, now it's not going through probate. Your trustee steps in seamlessly. They can manage it. They can take care of everything. So it's not stuck in probate. You're not having someone struggle to make mortgage payments while it goes through probate before it can be sold. Houses can foreclose in probate, which is terrifying, right? You think, oh, I bought this house. This is a great investment for my family. It's building wealth. When something happens to me, it will go to my kids. And suddenly you haven't set it up correctly and you risk losing that house during probate and foreclosure.
Yeah. So then this irrevocable versus the revocable trust is, I'm guessing, the flexibility based on the names, the flexibility of once this is set up, what we can do to it or what the trustee can do to it.
Exactly.
Oh, look at me.
Yeah, exactly. We've got two
When's
attorneys.
this next bar? Is it the big bar they called it? I like that. Hey, I sat at some bars before. All right.
Yes, the bar exam. Yes, that is a multi-day test that no one should ever have to do again. But good luck for you.
Thanks. Yeah. All right. Never mind.
So a revocable living trust, like you said, it says in the name, it's revocable. You can set it up. You can revoke it at any point. You'd want to officially revoke it and sit down with an attorney and do that, but you can do that. It's living. You can move assets in and out, which is a really cool tool as well. So it's a great building block for an estate plan. And then as things, develop in your estate and your wealth accumulates, let's say, you buy investment properties. Suddenly, maybe you funnel those into the revocable living trust. If you open new brokerage accounts, those can go into the revocable living trust. It's a really cool tool. An irrevocable trust is a type of trust that is irrevocable. So it's a little trickier to change. In fact, in some cases, it's really difficult. The benefits of an irrevocable trust could be a number of things. It can provide asset protection. So if, Andrew, you're like, I want to open a skydiving company tomorrow, I'd say that is so great. You lived your dream, but that's a high liability company, right? So maybe you want to think about moving some assets into an irrevocable trust because those could protect you in the case of a future lawsuit if something happens with your skydiving company.
Got it.
So that's a really good tool for the irrevocable trust.
Now, I'm guessing it's a case-by-case basis, but let's say we're talking with our contractor audience. And what are the normal recommendations for them? I mean, it seems like at a certain point, revocable trust seems like a great tool that anybody could utilize with, any assets they have, the business, their vehicles, their home. It feels like maybe at a certain point of wealth is when you start considering an irrevocable trust, or what is the kind of situations that lead up to making that decision?
That's a great question.
Well, I'm full of them. Just wait. I got a list over here. I'm like,
at what point do you put an irrevocable trust into place? So like you're talking about, revocable living trust makes a lot of sense as a base building block. And then as things change, you might want to consider down the road adding in an irrevocable trust. So as I mentioned, it provides great asset protection. So in terms of high liability situations, that might be a company. That might be if you're working as a doctor and you're worried about malpractice suits. That might be if you have a really large real estate portfolio. And so you're worried about lawsuits within that portfolio. You have short-term rentals. What if people slip and fall? Will they sue you? How do we kind of isolate and segregate that liability? Now, there are other tools, especially for real estate and real estate investors, which I'm happy to talk about, that you can put in place. But that's where we really see an irrevocable trust coming into place. Now, there are downsides of an irrevocable trust. It's a lot more complicated to set up. Also, you do lose a certain amount of autonomy and alienability over those assets. So it makes it a little harder if you want to move things out of the irrevocable trust later on. On top of that, irrevocable trust can face higher tax rates. So it really is a case-by-case basis.
Got it. Well, good. And that's why we encourage anybody if you don't have a trust, you don't have a will, you don't have anything to protect your family in place, please come sit down, talk with Emily. That is why she is here, to support this community. I already talked about education and how you love to educate. That's a main reason why you are here, and your relationships with the other affiliates as well, which I love. It makes my job so much easier. But I think that's kind of the call to action. It's like, if you don't know about this, great. We've sourced a trusted professional for you to talk with. And if you do have some of this stuff set up, but your attorney is in a different state or you haven't heard from them in a while, maybe that's something that you can look at for them. I don't know how that works, but
yeah.
Is that possible?
I love that you brought that up. So I am certified as a personal family lawyer, which is a certification for estate planning attorneys, just one step above. Obviously, I'm licensed with Colorado to practice law here. And then I'm also certified as a personal family lawyer. Now, that is a certification for estate planning attorneys. It is nationwide. So there are about 600 or 700 of us across the country. It's really important for two reasons. One is if you set up a plan in Colorado and then move to another state, things may carry over under full faith and credit, right? Your will can come into place. But I would encourage you to then sit down with an estate planning attorney in that state. That's really important because we start to talk about estate taxes, and we want to make sure you're not running into issues in different states with estate taxes. So if you work with me as a personal family lawyer or any other personal family lawyer, another personal family lawyer in another state is going to recognize that plan. So it makes it really easy, in a sense, to transfer over. 2, it's really important to have that licensure just as a quality check, right? So we had to take an exam and pass that. And just how do you know that you're hiring an attorney, which is the top quality?
Yep.
So great question. Thank you.
Thanks. Another one that I had is this world, especially in construction, is riddled with misconceptions. What are misconceptions when dealing with our contractor audience? When you sit down with these men and women, what are some misconceptions that you hear coming from them that we can just clarify to the audience right now?
I love this question. A huge one I hear commonly, especially when it comes to estate planning, especially when we're talking about trust, is I'm not rich enough to set up a trust. That's not for me. That's only something the wealthy do. My response to you is, if you have any assets, if you have a family, you need to talk to an estate planning attorney. And a trust might be right for you. It's not just for the wealthy. In fact, this is part of the reason I started my firm. I love working with people who it's their first time estate planning, right? They don't have a lot of financial education. They're like, walk me through it. What do I need to know? And that's because for all of us, in a wealth accumulation phase of lives, it's even more important to have an estate plan in place, right? You might not have 10 million that it's okay if it gets lost or caught up in probate because, I have 10 million, my kids are going to be fine. They'll find $1 million in there, right? No, we want to make sure that what assets we do have are properly preserved and passed to our families.
Are there any tips or a quick start guide of how to work with you? What are some things that you would just want to share to an audience of contractors?
I love that. Thank you for asking. Quick start guide. If you want to get in touch, reach out. I do free phone calls. We'll hop on the phone. We'll just talk through your estate, what you're thinking about, your situation. I also do a 2-hour educational meeting. So it's a really good chance to sit down with an attorney and just talk through your concerns, your situation, whatever it might be. In terms of tips, there are a number of things people can do today that make a huge difference in their families' lives. And it's just a matter of being informed of them, of being educated on them. So, for example, a few do's and don'ts. I'll start with the don'ts first. So don't add your child to your bank account. Do, though, add them as an authorized user on your credit card. Right? So really small little tip, takes about 30 seconds, can make a huge difference in your kid's life. So we don't add them to your bank account because that would open you up to their future creditors. Let's say you add them to bank account, we're 20 years down the road, they get married and divorced. Well, now their ex-spouse is coming after your bank account. That's really problematic. We do add them as an authorized user on your credit card, though, because suddenly, and this is assuming, right, you make your monthly payments, you have good credit, suddenly they are building up their credit score. And so when they're 18 and an adult, they have this phenomenal credit score. I don't know what your credit score was like at 18. I don't even think I understood the concept of credit.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Right. So you start out with a credit card and you can only get that really, low qualifying credit card. Imagine you had a phenomenal credit score at 18. What that would allow you to do, whether that's invest in property or get loans for businesses, get those great credit cards. So by adding your child as an authorized user, it starts building up their credit. So my daughter became an authorized user on my credit card when she was age 1. So you're welcome, kid.
Yeah.
Right. But little small tips like that can make a huge impact on your family's life.
That's awesome. I would love to get some sort of resource guide. Cooper around here has been writing our blogs where he's just getting strategy, growth tips, marketing tips, anything that comes to mind to our contractor audience. I'd love to sit down and create some sort of how-to guide or quick start guide, tips, reference, whatever, and kind of get that out on the website just for our audience to be able to have something static they can go to. And even if they need that little nudge, and this podcast isn't it for them, a little nudge to reach out to you to take you up on that consultation, it's like, why would we not do that? So I'm excited to have you here. Really, just the educational piece is awesome. I think with this community and all of our affiliates, anybody who leads with education has found so much success here, because what is education other than showing that you know what you're talking about and that you're going to be a good partner and that you want the best for them, which in so many cases is understanding. If you understand what I'm doing for you, then you'll see the value and we'll have a great relationship moving forward. So I'm really excited that you have that mentality. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And that's what really excites me and lights me up. It's how do I add value to others? How can I share what I know and what I've learned? And whether that's at law school or throughout my practice, and share that with you and hopefully make a difference in your life and your family's life.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for being here. I have a word written down on my questions list, and it's a shot in the dark here because I'm not sure that I know what it means. Guardianship. Explain to me what guardianship is and what does that have to do with you?
That's a great word. I was expecting some totally random word.
No, no. Hopefully it has something to do with what you do. If not, we can cut this out.
Yes, guardianship is a big piece of what I do. And so there's different types of guardianship. And so people think of guardianship might come up right during divorce, and that has to do with custody and who has custody of the kids.
That's where I went, but you're not a family law attorney, so I figured it had something else to do.
Correct. And a family law attorney is going to be the type of attorney that essentially handles divorce and custody issues there. That's not what I do. I'm always happy to make recommendations if someone does need a referral for a great family law attorney. I do handle guardianship, though, and when I talk about that, it is who would serve as guardian of your kids if something happened to you and your spouse? Who would be raising those kids? Now, this is probably the most important decision you could make, right? And something we absolutely need to get in place. If you don't have a guardian listed, if you don't have an estate plan set up, it is crucial to get one in place ASAP.
And we're calling him so safe today, nice and slow. Oh my goodness.
And that's because a lot of people don't know, well, if something did happen to you, you and your spouse, what would happen to your kids? Hopefully you have family who's going to step in. Hopefully it's who you want, right? And maybe you don't want family. Maybe you want your best friend who lives down the street. So we want to make sure that your wishes are honored. You know your kids best. You know what will be best for them. We need to get that in writing. So when we think of guardianship, we tend to think of long-term guardians, and that is important. But what comes up a lot too, and these are some difficult questions, if you and your wife went out to dinner and didn't make it home that night, what would happen to your kids? And chances are your kids are home with a babysitter. What would happen is the police would show up. That babysitter doesn't have legal authority to be with your kids. So what we risk is middle of the night, your kids being placed with someone from Child Protective Services. Now, it would be someone licensed with the state, but we don't know who that person is. That's a stranger to your kids. They're essentially pulled out of their beds and cribs in the middle of the night and placed with that person. So what I also do is work with my clients to name temporary guardians. Do you have a neighbor who lives next door? Do you have a cousin who lives down the street? Anyone who could come over and be with your kids and just that friendly face in the morning. That is so important.
Yeah.
On top of that, we can also do some really interesting things. You can leave priorities for guardians. So you can say, if something happens to my wife and me, if we're not here to raise my kids, I have now named a guardian. I know that they will be raised by, my cousin Jay, whoever it is. But how do I also leave my priorities for them? So priorities being, we are hoping to raise our kids in this educational style, in this faith. We want to make sure that when they're old enough, they get an allowance, but only if they do chores or whatever it is. So there are really cool things you can do to leave your wishes for your kids and make sure that they're raised in the way you want them to be raised.
Yeah. It's heavy stuff. And I mean, I'm sitting in this camp now where it's like, okay, well, I know what I need to do after this podcast wraps up, but it's one of those things where it just reminds me of financial advice. It reminds me of all of those things where no one walked me through this. They don't have a course for guardianship in high school and teaching you what you need to do to protect your family. And I think that's a worst case scenario for a lot of us, but it's a reality. That stuff happens and we need to be prepared for it. So it's cool. I didn't expect that to come up. I didn't know that was something that you can handle and that sits in a trust or an estate or anything like that, or is just a ancillary or side service that you provide. But it's good to know. And I think if that's not a call to action to all the parents out there, I mean, I'm sitting here sweating just hearing that story. I'm like, oh my gosh, what would happen? Who would you go to? And it's just something that we don't want to think about, but we need to. And the good news is if we could think about it once, put it down on paper, and then just go back to our lives, now it's not a stressor. It's a insurance policy in a sense.
Yes. And that's a huge piece of what I do. Naming guardians, making sure you have temporary guardians, priorities for guardians, all of that is part of a comprehensive, complete estate plan. On top of that, you mentioned, let's do it once, forget about it. Yes, absolutely. Come in, we'll set it up. You will have complete peace of mind. Hopefully nothing happens to you. Hopefully we're sitting here when we're both 90, right? And we're working on updating your estate plan. But in the meantime, right, you can rest assured that you have something in place to protect your family, to protect your kids. On top of that, I work with my clients to update their plans every 3 years. So I reach out to my clients every 3 years. I offer a complimentary review. I'll say, let's sit down. Let's talk about what's changed. Do you want to update guardians? have things changed in terms of your estate? Do you have new assets? Do we need to work those into your plan? One of the worst things I think you can do too is set up a plan, never touch it, right? And then pass away at 90 and suddenly your plan goes into place, but everyone you've named in your plan, right? They can't step in and serve in that role. So we have to make sure we keep it updated, but that's on me, right? I reach out to you in 3 years. So in those 3 years, you can forget about it. You can rest assured knowing your family's protected. And then I reach out to you.
Awesome. That is, it's one question that I've got when I've talked about attorneys in the past. Everyone's so cost conscious, and I think there's just that stigma, and it's not like we're not used to stigmas of our own in the construction industry. Like every contractor has got the perception of, oh, they're shady, or they're just here to take my money, or, you know, do as little work as possible, or lie about materials. I mean, it goes on and on. So it's nothing that we're not used to, but we know that that's just not the case. So it's really good to hear that that's something that you think about, you've built into your practice with everybody. Is every time we talk, I don't start a timer and then send you an invoice after I ask you how the family's doing and everything like that. So that's really cool. Thank you for being a part of this community. I think this is very educational. I'm excited for some in-person learning events. Just get an audience in front of here, people to meet you in person, having you come to the contractor meetups every third Tuesday at 7 a.m. We're filling this room here at the Business Foundry full of contractors.
I went to a meetup last Tuesday. It was phenomenal. And the people I've met and I've stayed in touch with are incredible.
We've got to get
the coffee were great.
Yeah. We got good coffee now. We have bagels. Yeah, everything. It's an awesome event. So there's the invite to everybody. It's an open invite to everybody in our community. It's a contractor only event. The only people that are in that room that are not a tradesperson, just like you, are people like Emily, trusted affiliates. And they're there to educate too. So if anybody's there hard selling you, I'd be very surprised, because we're an audience, or we're an organization that leads with education. And so you fit really well into that role. I'm very excited to have you. The last thing I have is just opening up the microphone. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about today where we might not have got the opportunity, it just didn't come up, that you want to share to our audience of contractors?
Great question. I think my biggest message for contractors would be, please come say hi to me at a meetup. Please come talk to me. I think I'm very approachable. And I just want to get to know you and your business and your family and talk about if I can help in any way. But even more than that, if you have questions, just come talk to me, right? I'm here to be a resource, and I'm always happy to, as all of you have probably heard on the podcast, I'm always happy to keep chatting.
Yeah.
So come up, talk to me. I'm happy to meet people.
Perfect. Well, we'll get you back in for another podcast episode. This one was purely introduce yourself to the audience, share a bit about who you are, and let's show this audience that you're here to stay, you're here to be a good contributing member, and the goal is to protect us. And what a better person to drop into this ecosystem. So thank you again.
Well, thank you, Andrew. And a huge thank you to the community. They've been so welcoming, and I'm excited to meet even more members.
Awesome. Well, keep showing up, keep doing your thing. One last time, I'll invite everybody, come meet these wonderful affiliates that have been on this podcast and are a huge part of our community. I genuinely mean it. I couldn't do it without them and the support of our team. They're here to help us. And we've identified something. It's the whole reason we're here is what y'all do is so hard, just the work itself. I mean, you take a project and on paper, okay, there's 100 things we need to do. Those 100 things break down into 5 trips to Home Depot, got to go to these material suppliers. Oh, our load didn't show up today. Where is that? Call these people. It's a million different tasks, and it's a logistical nightmare. We've identified that, and that's where you have to focus to grow your business and become better at what you do. None of that has anything to do with protecting your family, protecting your business, growing your business, having the right collateral to make your jobs easier to sell a job. That's what we want to do. That's what we're here for. And that's what our organization is really, that's our backbone, is we're here to help professionalize the construction community. We're here to support tradespeople. And if making introductions to people like you is a way to do it, my gosh, that's the easiest thing that we could do. So thanks again for being here. That's it for today, everybody. We'll have Emily on here again soon, and we'll, I'm sure, dig up a whole bunch of cool stuff about about
Let's
estate
talk
planning.
great about employing your kids in business and how that can help you and save their taxes.
Okay.
And let's get into it next time.
There it is. There's the cliffhanger. Employing your children. I've had some questions about that. So that's awesome. All right, everybody. That's it for today. Another shout out. Thank you to our sponsors, Builders Outlet, for everything you do, sponsoring our events, showing up, just being solid members of our community and giving our members a good experience when they come to support you and your business. Thank you to the Builders Outlet, and thank you to the Business Foundry. Said enough about the Business Foundry, but man, I couldn't do this without you guys. So thank you again. All right, everybody. That's it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.